Hello and welcome to Whiskey Resource. My name is Mark. This is going to be review number 106, and today I'll be doing a review of a sample that's been kindly sent to me by Lee of Budget Drams. So as always, I'll be putting Lee's socials and his links down there in the description. Lee has a YouTube channel, so if you can maybe go and have a look and subscribe to his channel, that'd be fantastic. He's putting out various content relating to whiskey. He's doing, like I do, sample reviews. He calls them sizzling samples, and he also does full bottle reviews as well. So go and check Lee out and give him a bit of love, and see if we can get your subscriber count up. Today though, I'll be reviewing the sample I sent me back in the summer. I've been looking forward to trying this one for quite a while. I just never got around to actually getting into the schedule, but it is that, which is the Dalmore Portwood Reserve. I like port finished whiskies. The Dalmore 12-year-old isn't a bad little dram, a bit on the expensive side for the 12-year-old. I've not reviewed any of the Dalmores. This is the second one. Picked it because I want to try more port finished whiskies, because I've tried a few and I've enjoyed every single one, so I'm looking forward to this one. It is bottled at 46.5% ABV, which is really good to see. I'm pleased that they're bottling a higher strength whiskey, because typically the 12-year-old, the 15-year-old, such like, are all bottled at 43% ABV, quite wimpy strengths. But 46.5, not bad. It is chill filtered, we are led to believe, and it does have additional colour added. Typically, when you look at a port finished or port matured whiskey, you'd expect to see a pinky red hue to the colour. This is more of a amber that you'd expect to see with a sherry matured whiskey, or a whiskey that's had caramel colour added. You can pick up the Portwood from various retailers. I've got some prices here. Masters Malt retailer for $56.94 when it is in stock. It's currently out. The Whiskey Exchange, you're looking at $66.95. The Whiskey Shop, they're out of stock as well, but when they have it, it's £65. And Robbie's Whiskey Merchants is $65.99. You're looking at an average price that I'll be using there is £63.72. It is a non-age statement whiskey. It's ex-bourbon American oak matured. They take that ex-bourbon matured whiskey and they split it. They keep half of it in the ex-American oak, the ex-bourbon casks, and they put the other half into port pipes. They get the port pipes from Graham's, and they let it age further for 12 to 18 months of extra aging before they then vat the ex-bourbon matured half and the additional port maturation into a vat, and then that's when then do the chill filtration, add the colour in, and the bottle is 46.5% ABV, which is good to see. So for value score, go down into the description there, you'll see a link to my website where you can read this review and you can find out more information about what the average value price is and what my overall score is going to be on this particular whiskey. So there's nothing much more to say about the whiskey itself, except for this is not a sherried Dalmore. On the nose, well, it's not disappointing. It is coming across with that typical rich plummy dark fruits. It's sweet. There's some villanella there, there's some caramel there, there's oak, honey plums, I'd like to say, but the underlying note coming from this is that sweet plummy port note. It's got a touch of artificial sweetness coming from it. It may do with a drop of water in this, we'll have to see. there's a tiny bit of citrus, but the overwhelming sense coming from this is dark fruits, of which plums is kind of the main thing. Is it inviting? It is, not as much as I would like to be drawn in. I think it could do with some water because it does smell quite oily. I think this is going to be maybe a bit viscous, oily on the mouth, but we'll see. Cheers. Has a medium level of oiliness to it. It's sitting right on the lower limits of what you can get away with for oiliness and velvetiness without becoming too watery. It's right there. It's just doing the job it needs to do for this strength. They've got the balance just right. Any lower ABV and it'll be too watery. It's on the finish. It's a bit of mouth drying, a bit tannic, a bit like you get from a red wine. It's nutty. It's fruity. It's dry to medium sweetness, let's say. It's got chocolate. It's bitterness that I was saying. It's kind of dark bitter chocolate and espresso. Not really mocha. You're getting the individualness of the chocolate and the coffee. A touch of orange pith, maybe, rather than the orange juice itself. Or the orange flesh, maybe a bit of the pith, bit of the skin, the zest maybe going on there. It's the port elements are there. It could probably do with more port influence. I think rather than doing half and half, they should have maybe matured or finished the whole batch in the portwood rather than only doing half of it. I think that extra time in the extra bourbon casks there has maybe overwhelmed some of the port palate. On the nose I'm getting more orange now, and we're talking more juice, orange juice, more oak, more vanilla on the palate. I do think on the palate some of the juicy plum notes have gone. It seems to be more of that bourbon influence that you're getting on the palate pushing through. It's maybe a touch less bitter, touch less drying, a bit more citrus, less jammy. I mean, official taste notes are talking about orange, sultanas, and cherries. I didn't get any cherries. I couldn't say I got any cherries. It was plum and oranges. Yeah. Sultanas, not so much. Not so much. I certainly didn't get any chestnuts, but I don't eat chestnuts, so my loss. Would I buy a bottle? For the price, $63.72, non-age statement. It's. I'm not even going to say it's a finished whiskey. If you look at their particular officials, they'll say that it's been aged in portwood, matured in American white oak American white oak ex-bourbon, and then aged in Tony pipes. I wouldn't call that aging. That's partly finished because it's only half of the batch has been finished. So essentially what they're saying is, here is a non-age statement, partly port influenced whiskey, and I think it lets it down a bit doing that part influence. They should really either leave the half as a full maturation, so they do half and half with half of each full maturation, or finish the whole lot, the whole vat, in port. It's not worth $63.72. It is tasty, but it's forgettable. It doesn't stand out. It doesn't maybe give me the wow factor. I've tasted quite a few port finished whiskies. Even something as cheap as the Famous Grouse port finish, which for what you get, it's a decent dram for the price you pay. It's a decent dram. It's worth what you pay for it. As something different to the normal Famous Grouse. A lot of those budget end finished whiskies, they're not mind blowing. I mean, it doesn't taste as nice as this does, but when you look at the price, you could pick up 3 to 4 bottles of the Famous Grouse port finish for one bottle of this, and I think you'd have a much more pleasurable experience with those 4 port finished grouses than you would one of these. Yeah, you would, very much so. This doesn't cut it, unfortunately. I wouldn't recommend buying a bottle. It's too pricey. It's overpriced. It needs to be as cheap as the cheapest price that you get the 12-year-old. It needs to be, and I think the cheapest the 12-year-old kicks around is £37 to £40. It needs to be at least that, maybe a little bit cheaper. For my mind, the water is a step too far. I think the ABV is 65 at 56.5. They've set it at that level for a reason, and that is because it's got the right minimum balance of that oiliness to it to impart the necessary flavours to get away with that port finishing. That's it. That's Dalmore Portwood Reserve, and the word reserve kind of gives it away a bit on the old value. Laters.